So my name is Emanuel Oladejo. I'm a front-end engineer. So over time, I've been opportune to work on scalable projects across different companies. So like she mentioned, I think I started my career at Zenith Bank. So can you hear me? All right, cool. Okay. So I was part of a team. There was a project that they were working on when I left. That's core banking. So majorly it's about revamping the core digital platform within the bank. So also I've been able to work with other fintech company. So currently I'm with InterSwitch. So I'll be talking about micro frontend. Micro frontend. I'm quite sure it's I don't know if it's a word that you've heard before, or maybe it's a new word that you are hearing today. I believe by the end of this session, you should be able to understand or have a more deeper understanding about micro front end. All right, so I'm excited to be here at DevFest 2025. So, and I'm sure that you are excited to be here as well. All right. Okay, before we go into the topic, before we dive deep, so I would like to ask a question. Like, I would like two guys, two female, to tell me about a project that you worked on and you really, really find it exciting. Just two volunteers, two guys, two ladies. All right. So I'll just count 3 seconds before I select people. One, two. All right, cool. Thank you. Go ahead, please. It doesn't have to be technical, like a project that you've worked on and you found it very interesting. It's like okay, awesome. Okay.
Hello. We use Stripe for the third party communication for getting money. It's like it's not a product
Okay.
in Nigeria. So it's a product by Nigerians in the US. For them, something like for contribution. Shake it. So like if they want to anybody, you cannot know anybody within your contribution um pod. We call it pod. You
Okay.
want to join a contribution, you can just join a random pod. Like it could be $100 pod, $20 pod, and you just join that particular contribution and you start getting the contribution is like automatic. A
Okay.
particular date, the money is withdrawn from your account, and there's always a payout date. Like it's like a cycle that, and you can pick a goal for a particular pod you are joining. Depends on
Okay.
how you can handle it. Like for instance, now if you don't have money in your account on the contribution date, and it will keep the way it works is we try to get a webhook from Stripe, and we send the webhook to record payments for each person. So if, for instance, that particular person does not have money in his account, that webhook keeps running for consecutive 3 days until
Okay.
the process is interesting. I don't want to waste time.
All right.
So yeah.
All right. Cool. Thank you very much for that. Okay. So I'll just move on. So let's imagine that every one of us we've made use of a particular application at a point in time, or maybe we've used an online e-commerce platform where we've purchased a particular item. For instance, Temu, right? Everybody knows Temu. Okay, so let's say within that application, you are interacting, we have different modules within that application. So I can list like 3 to 4 different modules. Number one is product catalog. So that's the section that displays the different products. For instance, you are searching for a top for guys, or maybe sneakers for guys. So once you search it, it's going to display different type of sneaker or top for you. That's product catalog, for instance. The next section is, okay, I love this product. Let me add it to cart. You click on it, it's added to cart. So cart is another feature on its own. Okay, I'm not interested in buying now. I just want to add it to wish list. That's another module. The user profile. Okay, I've ordered for a product. This is where my product is. It's moving to this. It has been shipped. It's going to get to me in a particular day. So let's say we have those different features. Now, you as an engineer, or let me say, okay, not everybody here is an engineer. let's just have an understanding of what goes on in the background, right? So different teams, let's say as we are in this, or we decide to like split everybody into like, okay, team of two front-end engineer, two back-end engineer, we have PM, we have QA, we have which other people do we have in a team? We have QA, we have PM, we have DevOps designer, thank you. So we decided to split everybody into different units, and we just decided to say, okay, our team A manage product catalog, team B manage cards, team C manage profile. So we have a distributed team. Everybody is working on different feature. Now that's where micro frontend comes into play. So a big platform like Amazon, Alibaba, Temu, they'll be using like a micro frontend where every team decides to like own their future. So that's where micro frontend comes into play. So I believe that within the Nigeria system, we majorly should be making use of a mono repo. That means like every feature combined within one single repository. A fintech platform, we can have disbursement, settlements, transaction within an application. Everything is combined within a single repository. So we'll be talking about what are the disadvantages of a mono repo. What are the advantages of like, see guys, let's split this application into simpler repository. So we'll be looking at it in deeper understanding. All right, so I'll move forward. So micro frontend are architectural patterns where you break down a monolith frontend application into smaller semi-independent applications. So I believe we've established this fact, right? So an e-commerce platform. So let's say row 1 to row 4, you guys manage products catalog. Row 5 to row 7, you guys should manage search. I believe you should understand that search is a very tough feature when it comes to e-commerce platform, like a very, very tough one. I've handled it before and I understand what it means to be building a search feature. In fact, they don't handle that feature to a junior engineer. It has to be like a senior and experienced. And so that's talking about another repository. Okay, so think of it like a microservice. I believe for people that they are more specialized in backend technology, they understand what we mean by microservices. So they have a lot of services that several applications are dependent on. So instead of having a very big code base, so where I work currently, there are situations where you have like a very big application. So before you are joining the team afresh, right? Before you figure out the application, 2 months has gone, 3 months has gone. You are still trying to like, okay, where's this particular feature? Where's that particular feature? Do you get? So most importantly, team can deploy independently. That's one very key feature about mono repo. So by the time, okay, we want to add, for instance, Facebook or Instagram, we should believe that for every icon or for every feature that you see on this particular app, we have different teams that manage those features. I think at the time I heard that for the like icon on Facebook, you have like team of people like designed to face that like to ensure that when you click on it, it shows the blue tick. When you click on it, different from a setup like of Nigeria here, where we are like one single team managing an entire application, front end and back end, right? Okay, so you've seen that kind of job ads before, front end, back end, database, DevOps, only you. You must even be able to design. Okay, so this means faster release when we have, so why micro front end? So team automation. So I believe that this is a feature that maybe within the Nigeria ecosystem, we might not be exposed to it for now. But I believe that we are engineers and we are thinking global, right? So by the time when you join a global team and then you are working within a distributed team and you are meant to focus on only a particular feature, and as a Nigerian, they give you one task, within one day you finish it. A task that is meant to take like maybe 2 weeks. Everybody will be surprised that see, we are used to that system. You finish fast. So we talk about team automation. So within your team, you can decide to take your feature to prod without waiting for team D or team E. So for instance, team A, they are done with their feature and they want to take it to prod. It has happened to me before where, okay, you are done with your feature and another team they are already on playground. That's the dev environment. But they are not ready to they are not done with their feature yet. So you have to wait for them because they cannot take their own feature to prod. So that's importance of a micro front end. So incremental upgrade. And the instance of incremental upgrade is if you join a big organization, there's high possibility that it inherits legacy code. So what do we mean by legacy code? So a code base that was built by an engineer maybe 7 years ago or 8 years ago, the script is outdated. For instance, let's say you are using a React application. The the feature that should be used maybe like 7 or 8 years ago should be like a class-based component. But currently now you are using a function-based component. So by the time when you want to change the feature, you have to sit down. In fact, like within my team at the moment, there's an application that everybody run away from. Forget you're a senior or you have oil on your head. Everybody run away from that application. Why? Because it's a legacy code and it's very, very difficult to, to make any change. So you have to be very, very careful. Before you move from step A to step B, you have to ensure watch your back, watch your left, watch everything okay. Hope I've not broken anything. So in case you want to do an incremental upgrade and your application or your team is working with on a mono repo, it's quite easy. You can easily upgrade a particular module or a feature from class-based component to a function-based component. Do you get? So, and you can easily take it to production. I have an instance of, yeah, I have an instance of my wife. She works at Money Point, right? So within their team, one of the key features that they are looking at, okay, let's upgrade this system from, they want to add more package. Okay, the application was started, I think, with maybe some node version that it's not like current. So they want to upgrade it. So in order to take it to the future, to take the upgrade to prod, it was very, very difficult. Do you understand? So in case your team, you are working with a mono repo, with micro frontend, it's quite easy. By the time when you are done with your feature, you can talk to your line manager, okay, I think I'm done with this. Maybe it's only the cat feature that you are working. Okay, we are done with this feature. Boss, let's take this feature to production. So it's quite easier. So incremental upgrade, faster time to market. So by the time when you are done with your feature, okay, QA, and shout out to all the QAs. So I have a QA that I've been working with ever since. Like there's a slogan that we use for QA. They are paid to frustrate developers' life. Like they want to look for bug for you. So by the time when QA has tested your work, they can easily confirm that, okay, your work is good to go. So imagine an e-commerce site. Okay, we've talked about this. Product catalog, shopping cart, profile. Okay. So if we have different teams, it's quite easy to make progress with work. So I believe like at this point in time, everybody is we are having better understanding of, okay, what is a mono repo? What is a micro repo? So mono repo simply means everything like shopping carts, profile, product catalog, put everything within a single repository. And then micro repo or micro frontend means, okay, let's split all of this feature into different repository. Okay. So there's a feature called module federation. So module federation easily helps to manage micro frontends. So the case where we have like 4 to 5, I'm just using an instance of 4 to 5 repository for frontend. You can have as much as 10. application. And by the way, there's always this conversation or hard conversation that which one is tougher, front end or back end? Should I throw the question to the audience? Back end. So why do you think back end is tougher? What do you say?
I don't want to. I think backend is just tougher because, like, as a backend engineer, your mentality is thinking about the infrastructure of the services you're building.
Okay.
You're worrying about even this microservices itself. If you're a good backend engineer, you need to consider it when you're building your project. But I think as a front end developer, you have a lot of like templates, tools you can just frameworks you can just plug in, connect together, and get what you want. But as a backend developer, you need to like consider those things I mentioned.
All right, cool. Any other contribution? Anyone? Okay.
Okay, so I think for me,
Yeah.
when it comes to implementation, backend is very easy, and front end has some kind of complexity when it comes to complex UI.
Okay.
But when it comes to scaling, backend has its headache because I started thinking about database querying optimization, out of memory, and like so. I'll go for backend in that one, but for front end, there are a lot of easy app to scale.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for that. Okay. Are you in support of front end or back end? Back end. Okay.
What I believe is where backend is easy is when you are just managing crude applications. So make a post request, make a delete request, get request, and all those stuff. But then when there was a time I actually took a look at some other deeper things like rate limiting, buffer, caching, and all those stuff. That was when I saw that backend is just easy when you are doing CRUD applications, but when we are talking about managing scalability, handling excess requests, and all those stuff, it's quite tough. Unlike front end, whereby yes, front end too, you have to manage all those things. Like you have to do things like a few you have things to do though, but I don't know, it just feels to me, oh, it feels easier to implement front end because what you are doing is you are visualizing what you are seeing, and all you just want to do is implement it. And I don't know, maybe it's because I've always had it easy implementing my stuff, that's why. But then to me backend is just the main tough stuff, but except when you're doing basic crude applications. Am I creating an API to get, delete, update, and all this stuff?
All right, cool. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, you want to add to it? All right, cool. Go ahead.
Good day, everyone.
Yeah.
I'm a full stack developer, and I will say that both are equally as hard. Front end is not easy, back end is not easy. And the way most people look at back end, it's going to be easy because it's just CRUD. But it's way past CRUD because if you take a fintech app, for example, where you like managing finance, and you have to ensure that when you update some when you update a record, that propagates to other collections as well, depending on how your database is arranged. So there are a lot of like logic, a lot of things you need to pay attention to, and all this depends on the kind of application you're working on. So if you're also building an application that allows for real-time chats, there's a lot of things that goes on there too as well, which is way past CRUD. That's what most people that are just looking. Front end is also not easy as well. Like speaking from my experience in front end as well, front end is equally not easy because if you want to look at building responsive applications, you build responsive applications for you have to build for all the devices, tablets, mobile, desktop. Desktop self has so many sizes. Mobile has so many sizes. For that's one that drives me crazy. And now Samsung is bringing out foldables. So it's it's really crazy. Both is equally hard, and I'm speaking from my experience as
Experience.
doing full stack development.
All right,
Thank you.
awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, we take the last person. The last person. Or the last.
All right, so do I have to stand up?
No, you can remain seated.
Okay, all right. So from my experience, I feel like for the most of the time, and I would say maybe 70-75% of the time, front end is by far harder, by far more difficult. Of course, I know that there are some projects that are very complex where backend is like hell. Yeah, but I'm saying for the vast majority of products, front end is hard. Why do I say so? So I have two reasons. Number one, front end is more like English language, while backend is more like maths, right? So backend is this is how it should be. 1 + 1 is 2, right? Why English is you write, oh, write a summary about this, and you write, and somebody will come and look at it and say, oh, this is beautiful. Somebody else might come and say, no, I think this can be better. So front end is subject to interpretation. Somebody comes in, looks at it, and says, I think you can do it like this. I think you can do it like that. So it's kind of difficult to actually please everyone when it comes to front end. That's one. Now, secondly, a backend dev, because I have several backend devs, they can, I know a guy that can just come on and his login and log out and whatever, he can use that same project for like 10, 20 different platforms, right? While with front end, each project has its peculiar screens that you have to develop differently. So again, like I said, for the vast majority of projects, front end is by far, it's not even close, more difficult than back end.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so I think we should not debate that further because I think it's an interesting topic, right? Uh, but from what everybody has said, the two uh, the two field or the two specialty have their own difficult days, right? As a front end engineer, if you have a badass designer that wants to put the button hanging in the air, or if I want to like ensure that okay, I'm the best designer in the world, it can make your life very, very difficult because you have to translate that design. Then talking about what you said, responsiveness on different devices can be difficult. Integration, integration can as well be difficult in some cases. And then you have to use state management, all those things. You have a lot of things to consider. And I like the point that this other guy said about backend. By the time when you want to take the application to prod, manage database, make the application scalable, call in different services, it can be difficult. But when you are dealing with crude application, okay, create and all those stuff, it can be quite easy. So the two specialty have their own difficult days and easy days. Okay. So talking about the core architecture. Okay, please, guys, let's follow. Let's follow, please. There are key concepts when you talk about. There's somewhere I'm taking us to. So, hello, can we? I want decorum. Thank you. There's somewhere I'm taking us to. By the time we finish this presentation and you are going for an interview, and then as a front-end engineer or a full-stack engineer, and you, after they've asked you all those questions, okay, introduce that my name is this and that, I built so number of applications, and then you can talk about, okay, micro frontend, how you deploy a micro frontend application, and then talk about, okay, I make use of model federation or any particular other library that you can talk about, and you explain in details how it works, how different application repositories are being called at runtime, how it's being built together. Like the person interviewing you, in case the person does not have experience about micro frontend, definitely that's an X factor you are bringing to the table, and the person will have a choice and say, okay, guys, come and join us. Okay, before I join you guys, okay, let's talk about how much, right? So talking about module federation. So module federation give us like three opportunities. So we talk about host. Host is your main application. Think of it as a shell or a container that consume all the remote modules. So when we talk about remote modules, we are talking about the likes of all those cards, product catalogs, profile, all those stuff. So all those features. So remote, these are independent micro frontend. They are exposed. They are they expose specific module that can be consumed by the host. So host consume all of these specific modules, and then we have the shared. These are common dependency that multiple apps needs. So we've talked about like when you are building, we've talked about different dependency, like the front end can make use of frameworks, JavaScript frameworks, CSS frameworks, images, and all those assets. So we've talked about that. So when you talk about module federation and you explain to your interviewer that, okay, we have like three sections, the host, the remote, and then the shared. So, and you can explain in details how each of them function together to give you a unique application. So talking about another interesting thing about micro frontend is that you can decide to use different frameworks. You are very good with React, or you have an enterprise application that you need an Angular on, and you need to deploy the two together within a single application to the user. So this module federation gives you an opportunity to leverage on that. So this is an example of the module federation plugin. So this is more of the code part. So module federation gives us a plugin, an opportunity. So you can see the name product app. So that's the unique name for this particular remote or repo. It can be cat, it can be profile, then the file name is generic. This is what is being exposed to the host. That's the route, right, in which your particular remote is picked from. And then the shared, we've talked about the shared. So one cool thing is that in order to ensure that your application is scalable and well optimized, you need to ensure that you don't duplicate some things. For instance, you have your React or React DOM. So we have a singleton. So singleton, we pass a Boolean value of true. So when we talk about this, so when you pass singleton value of true, the application, the host understand that, okay, this particular dependency or library needs to be applicable to all remotes. So you don't want to duplicate it within different remotes. So talking about singleton, I think there was a time I was doing an interview, and the guy asked me that what's the meaning of singleton. In my mind, I was like, singleton. Okay, so one thing I actually don't know the meaning. I actually put it in ChatGPT, right, to quickly bring meaning. So at the end of the interview, the guy said something. He said, "There's something about Nigerians. We are not interested in the core details, how things work under the hood." Okay, by the time, okay, this is how React work. Quickly put it together. Oh, I have my beautiful applications. My manager is happy, key is happy, product is happy, everybody is happy, they pay me my money, I go home happy, right? But how does things work under the hood? That's UI that you built. How does it work under the hood? How does it call your API? How does all those things work under the hood? So you need to be interested in all those things. That's what the whites are very much interested in. And that's why they are the one building all the libraries. We pull them to build our own features. So as an engineer, this is a challenge. The current stack that you are using, I mean, more interested in, okay, how does some of this library work under the hood? What makes them work under the hood? So that's talking about singleton. It's a flag that ensures that only one instance of React is running within the application. So also, I've established the fact that with micro frontend, you can make use of different framework. So this is an Angular implementation. So Angular basically makes use of Angular architect module federation. So it's a dependency that can ensure that, okay, you can easily build your Angular application within the micro frontend. Okay, so key difference from React. What's different between Angular? The difference between Angular. So Angular integrates beautifully with lazy loading. So that's one of the key features with Angular you can easily implement your lazy loading. Okay, if I should ask, what's the meaning of lazy loading? Is it that I'm loading like lazily? I don't load fast. All right, cool. Okay.
So lazy loading is an architecture, I would say, where you allow certain parts of your application to not come up right until it is needed. So situations like I'll use TikTok as an example. So all the videos you see are not loaded all at once, but the more you scroll, the more TikTok loads or rather preloads new videos and waits for you to scroll to them. So that's like a good example, I guess.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. All right, so I really love that example. So, for instance, for some of us that we are quite familiar with Netflix, so Netflix asked one crazy. I don't know how their engineers or their funding engineers did that. So even though your network is like terrible, at some instance it will still like play that your favorite movie for you, compared to some other uh the other competitors that if your network is not good, guy, you have to wait, right? So that's an instance of lazy loading. So it fetch information ahead, and like you said, there are some pages, for instance, e-commerce has to make use of lazy loading very well, because they have like several images that it needs to display to you user. So for instance, the page within the main frame, the images have to load fast. While under the hood, you are still checking, okay, these are all the products. They will keep loading the other images underneath. So lazy load, Angular makes use of lazy loading very well. React as well makes use of lazy loading as well. So best practices, implementing micro frontend. I here are the lesson learned so far. So always mark common libraries singleton. So in case you don't want duplications of libraries, ensure that you mark it as singleton. Be explicit about version range. So when we talk about version range, what do we mean? So there are cases where you have an application and it makes use of different dependency or library. But the node that you are using within your application, maybe that application when it was built like 7 years ago, it was built with Node 12. And then the current node is, we have Node 24, right? And then you need to install some packages like, okay, maybe charts, you want a graph and all those things. You want different. So you need to ensure that, okay, your application can collaborate, can interact very well with different dependency that you are downloading. So that's talking about version range. Version management, you need to be able to ensure that version management is well aligned. Okay, so error boundaries. When you are working on your micro front end, you need to ensure that you are taking care of all error cases. As an engineer, you need to ensure that, okay, I'm building this page, I'm working on this. What are the edge cases, right? So that's one of the things as an engineer those are few things that distinguish a very smart engineer from the regular engineer. A smart engineer could be thinking as a user or peradventure as a QA. Okay, what are the edge cases? Okay, let me say, I want to come down, I want to come over to the audience. As an engineer, what are the different edge cases? So what if I want to jump over this stuff? What if there's a barrier? So you need to think far and wide as an engineer to ensure, okay, all edge cases, all error boundary are being taken care of. So you need to have like a fallback UI. In case your page fail or something fail, you need to have like a page where where it fallbacks on. You need to log all error for monitoring. Okay. Type safety. So share TypeScript type across micro frontend. Use the shared type packages. So it's good to make use of TypeScript or ESLints for people that are quite familiar with that. So it helps to ensure that, okay, It helps to mitigate errors that might want to happen within your application. So performance, we've talked about, no, we talk about lazy loading. Uh, Code splitting. You need to ensure that you implement code splitting within your application. So it's a feature where you don't want the application to load at once. So there's a feature that you can use to ensure, okay, your application load at different interval. So when you are working on micro frontend, what are the common challenges? So we can have dependency L. So when we talk about dependency L, that means there's a case where you have a node version and then you need to install another package, and then there is like conflict within those different versions of different dependency. I mean, like, I had a share example of my own this week. For 2 good nights I was trying to, like, okay, resolve this. So that was why at the beginning we were saying, like, all days is not rainbow. There are some days that you have to sit down and try to figure things out. So there are days in which okay, there are cases where you can have dependency also. You need to be able to, like, contain that. And when you have situations like this, it's good to, like, calm down. Sometimes someone tell me that, okay, do you know what, just leave what you are doing, take a walk, go and do something else. Like, try to ensure that, okay, calm down, relax, have a different thoughts, fresh breath, play game, do something, even if you are under tight deadline, but you've been trying to resolve that error for like many hours, 6 hours, 7, you are still trying to resolve an issue. Take a break, take a walk, call a friend, talk about something different, take a nap, then come back to that application to check what's happening. Another issue is network latency. So this is a situation whereby within a micro frontend, you are calling several APIs. So it can result to, like, network latency issue. Testing complexity. You must be able to ensure that your remote modules in test create a proper integration testing environment, ensure that you test your work very well. And then CSS conflicts. You must be able to manage your global CSS within your shared application, and then within your remote as well, you must be able to manage the CSS conflict very well. There are cases where, okay, you have to use different class name for your CSS. You don't use a conflicting CSS. And as a distinct engineer, you must be able to build a good CSS to ensure that, okay, different modules don't clash. For instance, the global CSS is well maintained, and then the CSS within your remote. And when I talk about remote, that's the different modules I'm referring to, right? Architecture example. Okay, so what a micro frontend architecture look like? So this is still referring to what we've talked about. We have the shell, we have the remote. So remote talks about all the different modules. So I might be trying to reiterate what I've said before so that at least something stick, right? And by the time when you get home or try to, okay, let me do this thing. So remotes are different modules: products, cards, profile. So when to use micro frontend? So it's not like, okay, I want to do a startup. I have an idea, guy. I have an idea. All right. So as an engineer, like, I mean, that happened to me at the time. I was just scrolling through WhatsApp, and then I found a very cool idea. I'm like, wow, this is very nice. Around 3 a.m., I called a designer friend. That guy, I have an idea. Can you help me to do this design and stuff like that? So if you are that kind of person, you have to, okay, when do you use a micro frontend? Or you are working within a distributed team and you want to start a new application, you have to make proper decision. Should we build all these modules together, or should we separate some of these modules? Okay, so good fits. Micro frontend is good for large team. So for instance, I've make mention if you are working for a company like Amazon or Google, they will have a lot of micro front end. Independent deployment. So for instance, you want to build a fintech application, and within a fintech application, we always have stuff like disbursement, uh, transfer. Okay, my time is almost up. Transfer, card management, all those different modules. And you want to think of, okay, how to deploy this feature individually. So it's good for large team, independent deployments, legacy modernization. We've talked about legacy code, right? So when it's not recommended, small teams or startup, you are a team of 4 or 5. Okay, I have an idea. Paparazzi. Okay, tightly coupled feature, simple application, and when you have limited infrastructure. So these are some of the things you need to think when you're thinking global, or when you want to propose an idea like a micro front end, when it's good and when it's not good for your application. So if you want to get started with micro front end, right, what do you need to consider? So we're almost done. So like I said, micro front end is a very cool feature that as an engineer, front end or back end, you can try to build on your own. Add it to your resume or just push it to your GitHub. If you go for any interview and then you discuss in detail how micro front end happen or how it works. Okay, by the time you've introduced yourself and talk about some of the applications you've worked on, and then you now give them details of, okay, I built this particular feature and this is how it works. My brother, that's an X factor for you. So essential resources, we can check out module federation documents. This particular feature is for Angular projects, so you can't do without it if you are making use of module federation. You can check out micro frontend org and then single page framework as an alternative approach. Okay, so what's the next step? Start with a proof of concepts. Just build like a 2 or 3 micro frontend, declare clear boundary, establish shared design system, and set up CI/CD. So another thing as an engineer that, okay, when you are starting an application, and some of the things that distinguish engineer and some things that you can always talk about, maybe during interview time or when you are already within the team, is documentation. As a front end, you have your README, okay? If a new engineer wants to come to the team, like document things is very, very important. Or they give you like a test application, details things down within your README. It makes a lot of difference. Whoever is reviewing your code will be happy to see that, oh, this is very fantastic. So this person pay attention to details. He even gave me like tips on how the application work. All right, thank you all for your attention. And I hope you have an understanding of what micro frontend is. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, so key takeaways. Micro frontend enables team autonomy and faster development. Module federation makes runtime integration seamless. Start with a POC and iterate. All right, thank you so much. All right. Thank you. So questions?
So I'm interested in this module federation, and
Okay.
I have key concerns. And one of them is how is state managed across a large application like an e-commerce app?
All right, cool. So one of the things, we talk about the shared application. So you need to ensure that, okay, your state management as well is declared within your shared application. So you don't need to repeat. Once you define your state management, for instance, you are making use of rxjs, you are making use of Redux, or maybe you are making use of Zotstand, right? You can ensure that, okay, this state management is defined within your shared, and then it's easily accessible within your repository as well. So that's one of the way in which you can ensure state management is well defined.
My colleagues working on other features, we didn't know about like my own state, and
Yeah.
will I also know about like their own state values as well?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
If I'm working on the cart feature
Okay.
in my own team, and I have other team working on the product, most times there are times when you know s- certain features depends on state values of other features. Maybe adding to cart, right? Products is a different feature. Cart store products doesn't make any sense. So in that case, it's possible that the other team handling the carts would know about the values or the information kept in the state for product.
Okay, okay. I get what you're saying. So one cool thing about um, remote, that's your repo. So you build your application as a standalone. So like you are building an application and it does not have anything to do with the next thing. So you have your state management within your own repository. All your information are managed within your own repository. Now, for another team, in case another team needs to have access to a particular information uh, from your own module,
Yeah, module.
right? So they need to access that through an API call.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And one more.
Yes, right.
CSS is also an issue,
Yes.
right? Because I may write a class in my own module, and I don't know if someone would replicate that same class with different implementation, but it's the same class. Which, for example, I can write a container class, give it a different property. The other team might write a container class as well and define a different kind of property. How is that kind of issue? How is it being handled? How is it managed?
All right. Awesome. Awesome. So one important thing is if you're working on the feature or if you're working on a module, it's very important that your class name needs to be dynamic. For instance, I'm wearing a green shirt. Uh, everybody on this front row seats, they're not wearing green. I think they have white, black. So if I want to define my own class name, I can say green container, green wrapper, and then the other person say black wrapper, white wrapper. So at no point will there be interference in the class name. So it's very important that, okay, maybe your own feature is cat, which is very unique. So your class name can only start with cat, to ensure that it does not conflict with another name. Do you get? So cat wrapper, cat container, our profile wrapper, product container. And the shared application is something everybody have access to. So dynamic name should not be used at all. And then, like I said, just ensure that, okay, any class name that you want to define, it's dynamic based on the module that you are working on. So it really helps a lot. All right, cool. Any other question? Okay.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
Timothy. From the screen, I saw you showed the module federation.
Okay.
So I would like a better understanding on how you use the exports, because I noticed after declaring. Okay, now the exposes. Now, you listed the parts to the product list. So can you share more light on that? Because you said that links all the remote repos. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how do you, for instance, now you have cards, you have inventory, you have maybe another module now. So that means this file is going to be in your host
Yes.
repo.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So do you now have to like clone, or how do you make that link? Because you said the remotes now, they are actually isolated,
Yes,
like
yes.
isolated projects on their own. So how do you, and those isolated projects will be deployed in various GitHub GitHub repos. So so how do you make that link?
All right, cool. Okay, so one thing you should notice about this plugin is that this particular object is unique for different remotes. When I talk about remote, I'm talking about your module. So this particular plugin, this particular object, starting from the color, it's peculiar, or it's unique to the remote called product app. So for instance, when I want to add the plugin for cat, I have to ensure that it's within another object. The name will be cat app. File name is always unique. It's always the same. Then expose. That's the URL in which it's been exposed from. So it could be like dot slash. Every project you always have like the source. Every remote you always have source. So maybe your remote name is called cat app, profile app. So the name, the URL that you're exposing is unique for different repository, for different module. And then shared is like general within different objects. I don't know if you understand. So for every module in which you want to the host to add at runtime, you need to ensure that, okay, this is well defined within an object within the host application.
Okay, so that means this configuration is for each individual remote.
Exactly.
Okay. So now, one more question. How does this, we have the host now, and then we have the remote. How then does everything tie in with our package.json file?
All right, so cool. So this particular plugin, so each of your remotes, they are going to have their webpack file, webpack.js. So that's a particular feature in Micro Frontend. So it ensures that at runtime, all your remotes, after the application has finished building, at runtime, that they are well compiled together to ensure that, okay, they are accessible. So sorry, what's the question again?
Like the hosts and the remote, how does, with using this object now, how does everything tie in with our package.json file?
Okay. All right. So I don't have access to my code. I would have shown you, or probably something that you can follow up on. But basically, we have a webpack 5 within the host,
Okay.
where all the details of different remotes are being defined. And then each remote as well have their webpack 5 that speak as well to the host application. There's a simulation between the remote and then the host. So after building at runtime, all this information like collaborate together to ensure that, okay, the remote is accessible from the host application. I don't know if that answered the question or you are still in doubt.
Not really.
Not really. Sorry, what did you say? Everything is bundled together.
Everything is bundled together.
Yes, at runtime.
Oh, okay.
So like I said, there's a interaction, and what connects the two of them is Webpack. So there's Webpack within the remote, and then the host application as well have Webpack. So there's a connection between the Webpack of the remote and as well the Webpack of the host application.
So that means the webpack acts like a bridge that pulls everything together.
Exactly.
Okay, sir, I have one more question now, but it's more about your, because earlier you said you're a very seasoned developer and you've worked on various projects. From your experience now, what do you say is the best architecture when you are building front-end applications?
Okay. All right. Thank you. So this is the last question, right? This is the last question. So it depends on the team that you're working with. So I happen to work at the time with a foreign organization. We are working on a project, I think it's for Ireland or a company outside Nigeria. So they're making use of Next as their framework for the website. And then for the application, they are now making use of Storybook library. So it comes down to the team that you are working with. So you need to be very versatile as an engineer. And thank God for AI, right? You can learn faster than before, right? So whatever framework that your team is making use of, you need to like be able to pick it up very fast and work with it. Now, if it's you are the one deciding, like you are the project lead or TL, you can as well like, okay, what framework would be good for this application? And which application is more of a framework than more of a library. I think a lot of people are tending towards Next.js based on some cool features that it has. And if it's Angular that your own team needs to work on, so they all have their advantage and disadvantage. So you need to be able to learn fast when you're joining any team. And if you're the TL, you need to be able to decide what is good for your team. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you very much.